Rock Solid Radio wants to thank Casey's Outdoor Solutions. Casey's is a premier garden center and gift shop located in Lawrenceburg, Indiana. They offer a wide selection of high-quality plants, landscaping materials, and home decor. They do amazing high-quality work and can help you transform your indoor and outdoor living spaces into something beautiful. So stop by Casey's Outdoor Solutions today and let them know you appreciate their support for Rock Solid Radio. Visit Casey's today at 21481 State Line Road, Lawrenceburg, Indiana. Welcome to Rock Solid Radio. This is Merle Hutchinson, sitting alongside the lady who fills my God-sized hole.
No.
Wait, you don't do that?
No.
Wait.
Did you not listen to last week's show?
What? I thought that's the reason why we got married, so you could help fill the hole.
And by the way, it's not God-sized; it's God-shaped. Like it's.
Yeah, but God, I like God-sized. It was big.
Either way, I can't fulfill it. So.
Well, that's disappointing. Why didn't you tell me that 35 years ago?
Holy cow. Well, it takes us a while. We're slow learners. So if you didn't get a chance to listen to last week's show, please go back. We had a little spirited discussion of like, is this a girl comment? You know, like this phrase, does it come from a female? It actually originated from a male philosopher, theologian.
He didn't use the terminology God-shaped hole. He did not. He said cravings and desires.
Oh,
now
anyway.
That I can make sense of.
Oh, my gosh.
All right.
It's
hey.
a long show.
Guys, thanks for joining us. So, yeah, we are kind of in the second part of filling up that God-shaped hole. And today we're going to get a little bit more applicable to, well, what am I going to put in that?
Applicable.
That's a big word, especially for a young whippersnapper like myself, right?
So speaking of that, okay, I'm going to digress here for a second. I was eating lunch with our son today, and so he said, what does inconspicuous mean? And he couldn't even say the word. And he's like, inconspicuous. And so I said, why do you ask? And he, oh, no reason. I was like, okay, there's something inconspicuous going on there. Like, I'm a little nervous about that. But yeah, he couldn't even say the word, but I kind of.
Did you ever get to the answer as to?
He didn't have a reason why he was asking.
Okay, not at all. You never got around to that at all, huh? Okay.
No, so here's the example I gave him. I said, so when you started a little YouTube experiment the other day with some suntan lotion and some cocoa powder, and it was like this experiment. He said it was good for his skin. I think he was trying to make himself tan or something. And he created this gigantic mess where he tried to clean it up with a rag and a sponge, and he threw things in the dishwasher, and it was all over the counter and the sink. And so like it wasn't very inconspicuous that he had created this experiment. I said, so it would have been if you had just cleaned it all up, and I would have never known that you had done this inconspicuous little experiment. But
you got to learn to hide those things, son.
Gotta love teenage boys.
Gotta love it. All right. So and fall break. That's brings it all to life. So anyway, we're going to talk.
Sorry, I digressed.
Well, we're going to try to fill that digression. And the idea here today is taking from what you started with, hon, with that God-shaped hole, and actually then putting it into a little bit more tangible sense of, well, what areas do I need to actually go after, and how am I fulfilling those things? Yeah. Okay, so we're going to get a little bit more practical in that sense. Let's thank a few people, and then let's get into our work.
Yeah, so we want to thank our two sponsors, Maxwell Construction and Casey's Outdoor Solutions, for their support of Rock Solid Radio and Rock Solid Families, and the mission and vision of strong and healthy families. And really, if you're not familiar with Rock Solid Families, we really encourage you to get on our website to check it out. rocksolidfamilies.org, and you can kind of learn about us, see a lot of our work, our writings, our blogs. We have over 200 podcasts now, and so we've been doing what we're doing today for over 4 years, and we first started on the radio, thus Rock Solid Radio, and so now is just a podcast that can be aired on demand. And so, please go back and check out our library that is, you can even search for our blogs and stuff just by words like anxiety or parenting or faith or whatever. So hope you'll tune in.
Yeah, very good. Also, talking about that, we want to continue to remind people to reach out to us for marital help or parenting concerns that you might have. One in particular tool that we use is our Rock Solid Marriage tool, which is a program that we put together to help couples strengthen their marriage, get it to the next level, hopefully prevent it from floundering and becoming more of a dark spot in their life. So let's help you to thrive.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So let's get into this. All
Tell
right.
me about your essential 8, because that's that's our theme of the show this week. So tell me a little bit about where that came from and what you're talking about.
Well, the reason why I don't, this isn't the right word, like I don't like the God-shaped hole. I don't like that description because a hole is empty, and I'm not even quite sure what you mean to fill it, right? So I need to be more practical and say, well, what do you mean?
You need it simplified?
I need to simplify. I need to make it make sense for me, Linda. And us guys in particular are definitely compartmentalized thinkers. And so we got to know, like, well, just tell me, like, what area I can focus on. And so when you describe the God-shaped hole, your brain can see lots of different things coming in to help, take care of whatever that is. My brain is like, well, I don't know, like, just let me start in one area.
So that's funny because I don't know if you've read the book, something about not men are from Mars and women are from Venus, but like women are spaghetti and men are like waffles.
Yeah.
And so it's that compartmentalizing of that you need this very laid out, where women are all over the place with spaghetti and, spider webbing all over from one thing to another. And so, yeah, we can kind of bring it all together where you need it in little boxes.
Yeah, because then I know what to go after.
That's true.
I know
Good
what
point.
to go after. I know where to put energy into. Otherwise, I just get frustrated. And
Yeah.
like you said, it's all that spaghetti all over the place. I can't straighten it out, so let's just eat it. Okay?
Yeah.
And so here's the deal. Like, you can look up the physical necessary items that you have to have, your physical necessities, all right? And you have to have those. We talked about that in our last show.
So Maslow's hierarchy of needs.
Hierarchy of needs, and food, water, and shelter make up a large part of that. But if you just have that as a human, you still will not be feeling like your life is going very well. And you will get symptoms, okay? And these symptoms are really important for us to tune into because your symptoms are screaming messages at you. All right. No different than if you stub your toe on the side of your bed. The symptom of that pain tells you, okay,
Ouch.
you just got a
That
message.
hurt.
Now, what are you going to do about it? Okay. And so there are physical symptoms, but there are other symptoms, and we think of them as being more mental health type symptoms. But when these things go bad, when these areas are not covered well, we will get a lot of mental as well as physical symptoms.
yeah.
Okay, they will come out physically as well. And we will be wondering, like, what's wrong? What's going on? I'm not in a good place in my life. And what we're going to show you today is if you can drill down to these areas, you can start to get a handle on how to help yourself.
Yeah, and you kind of alluded to it, hon. Our mental health, our physical health, our spiritual health, our relational health are all intertwined.
Yeah.
And you can't starve one and expect the other to be fine. And so just like you can't go without food and water for a long period of time, you can't go without these for a long period of time. So we're going to be talking about why these are so important and why they're essential to our emotional and mental and physical health.
Yeah. So let me go through the 8 real fast. We did these in the last show, but I'm just going to run through them real fast. But then we're going to break them down because each of them has a different level of significance for each person, depending on your wiring, your environment, your circumstances. Okay.
Get a piece of paper out because I think they're important. These are the things that I think, as you said, hon, especially for men, they need to kind of have it clearly laid out. And so if you can write these down when you're feeling angst or when you're feeling helpless or hopeless, then you're like, oh, this is because of that. So get a piece of paper.
Yeah. Okay. So the first area of emotional need that I better understand it for myself and then try to figure out how I have to satisfy it. The first one is control. Every person has to have a level of control that works for them. And it's very specific to them. Okay. So we've all heard the phrase, well, he or she is a control freak. Well, that's a person that in order to feel like together, like everything's going okay in their life, they have their hand on a lot of different parts. Okay. And when one of those parts is not under their control, it starts to freak them out.
Are you looking at me?
I am not looking at you any closer
Yes,
than I have
You're looking at me.
All right. And so, and that creates, hon, in you, when you are lacking control in certain areas, it creates anxiety in you.
Yeah.
That's the physical manifestation. The emotional manifestation is anxiety. Okay. And so, if we don't understand that, we will just keep thinking, wow, man, she's just a pain in the butt about this and that. She's always got to have, but it's actually, you're trying to minimize your anxiety.
Right. It's fear-based.
Yeah, it's fear-based.
Yeah.
And so you have a high level of control. And when it's not being met, it starts to freak you out.
And this was huge. This is why, I was raised in a church, but I had a very traditional check off the box kind of relationship with God because of that control, like surrendering to the Lord and trusting in him and literally submitting to his way was a very huge control thing for me. Right. So it took a lot, and I always want to try to keep taking it back, but I know that it's much better in the Lord's hands. But you're right, it is a huge part of my struggle.
Yeah. Now, but let's be clear. Okay. So that is a source of maybe anxiety for you. And I could get mad and say, I'm tired of you being a control freak. But let's make no mistake about it. Every person has this as a need. And so it's like, yeah, you might need more calories than I do for food. But even though my calorie count is less, if you take the calories that I do need, I will get anxious.
So you mean like if I would try to ride your tractor or clean up
don't
your
mess,
garage,
don't mess with my place,
or touch your workbench? Oh my gosh! Can I just say, like, he's got several workbenches. Like, I'm not allowed to touch. But the level of
you have gone into there at certain times and started throwing things away, and I'm like, did you really just do that? Did you really just walk into my zone?
But it's like, oh yeah, I have to look at it every day when I pull the garage.
So make no mistake about it, guys. Like, this is not about just a control freak. It's about understanding like what your area is, and it is so helpful to identify it.
Yeah.
Like the calendar, that's not my area really. Like, that is Linda's area, and so I literally, if you ask us what are we doing tonight, I'll say, I don't know. Let me talk to Linda. Okay. Because I know that that's an area that she is going to maintain, and I'm totally good with it. But like you said, something in my interest, my hobbies, my work place, I don't want you messing with it. And we found that when we actually started working together in the same office. Like, we really started to realize the different areas of control, but at first we couldn't put words to it. We were just irritating the heck out of each other. Okay. And most of the time I was right and Linda was wrong, and
I'm not.
You're not
touching
even.
that. I'm not going to touch that with a 10-foot pole.
That was a joke right there, folks. So the idea of us understanding, okay, and I remember us kind of saying, listen, you take care of the area that you need to take care of. Let me take care of my area. And it's just because of the anxiety that comes about.
Yep.
Okay.
And the lack of arguments.
Yeah. Well, because we have a bigger goal.
Yep.
And the goal is to get something to run, the family to run, the marriage to run, the ministry to run, whatever it is.
Okay. So that's control, number one.
Number two is respect. Okay. Everybody has a level of respect that they need. Okay. Now, this one actually, no one wants to be disrespected. So let's just lay that out there. Nobody enjoys or appreciates being disrespected. I can't wait to just go to work today and be disrespected by my employees. No, that's not at all what we're talking about. But that indicates that we all have that need. But this is, I talk about the idea of control for you. This would be a heightened area of need, emotional need for me. But I will tell you, most men in general. In general, men talk about respecting or showing respect for each other. They look at each other in the eye. They compliment each other's work. Man, you did a good job on that remodel job. That really looks good, okay? And that is kind of a show of love, but respect is what we're actually looking for. And if I am disrespected, I won't hang around disrespect for long. It'll either provoke anger in me, or I will walk away from it and get away because I'm not going to hang out in an area where I'm not getting respect. Now, think about that in a marriage. If I'm in a marriage and I'm being disrespected in the marriage, I will shut down, potentially leave the marriage, disengage. And again, these are all the symptoms. And I need to be able to say to my wife, in this case, the example, I need to be able to say, really what the problem here is you interrupt me when I'm disciplining the kids, but the way you do it, I feel disrespected in front of the kids. And so this makes me very upset or angry. And so now I'm using the word respect versus I hate the way you talk to me, or I hate the way, you interrupt me when I'm disciplining the kids. I've actually put a word to it.
Okay, so we got control, we got respect, and I think the third one is love. And we all have this felt need to be loved, to feel like someone cares, okay? And so for women especially, that nurturing, that connection is super important, so that we talk about the book Love and Respect before, and I believe both women and men need love and respect. As you said, these are essential 8s, not just for women and men, but for both. And so love is another one.
Yeah. So just think about this. And we talk about the idea of debating, gender equality and all of these gender roles and all of these different things. And this, just like respect was more of the nature of a man, love is more of the nature of a woman. And so just to give you that example, you use the right word, hun, of it really is being cared for. Now, a man wants to be known that he's valuable. Okay, but a woman wants to be cared for to the highest level, and here's that highest level, which Christ showed us: sacrifice, sacrifice of even life. And so I would never say that a woman wouldn't die for her husband, a wife wouldn't die for her husband, but it's almost like expected and assumed that a man should be willing to die for his wife. Okay, and so what it is saying, this is how much I care for you. I would do anything for you. I care. Okay.
I think it's the nurturing too, just of feeling that time and that care and concern. Like if I'm sick, like it's not like, well, aren't you going to cook dinner? It's more like, hey, what can I do to help? Okay. So we got control, we got respect, we got love. And here's one of my biggies, son. And I'm telling you what, it pushes my button faster than anything. And that is trust. If I can't trust you, if your word doesn't mean anything and I can't put my weight into it and trust it, holy cow, this probably sets me off faster than anything. And I noticed that with, especially like with the kids, if your words and actions don't match, or a friend, and I find out that I can't trust you, it really does take me back.
Well, so trust speaks to all of us are designed to be relational.
Yes.
And relationship can only exist based on a platform of trust.
A healthy relationship.
Yes.
Yeah, we have relationships all over the place that don't
Well,
have
sometimes,
trust,
yeah, exactly. And so the trust is essential. And so we deal with the trust issue all the time in marriage breakdown and parenting breakdowns and things like that. And it's just basically, well, we don't trust you because we've seen the fruit of your labor before and it wasn't good. And so trust is essential. And so if I'm going to actually engage in relationship, the very first thing that I have to start is trust. And so we see this with brokenness and with affairs, financial expenditures that were unexpected and just assumed. And all of a sudden you get the guy says, hey, I'm sorry about the affair. And he wants to just get right back up and go where he was going before in a relationship. And it's not happening. It's not going to happen because of the amount of anxiety and tension that he introduced due to the break in trust.
Yeah, I recently was talking to a couple that was trying to rebuild this trust, and I just mentioned the Billy Graham rule, and we've talked about it in shows before, but Billy Graham rule is really just a healthy boundary that kind of says, you and I have this, is that we're not going to dine alone, we're not going to drive alone, we're not going to travel alone with somebody of the opposite sex. I don't care if it's told by your work, I don't care if they're good friends of the family, it's really just building that trust. It's saying, you know what, I'm not going going to put myself in that position where maybe I don't have any feelings, but maybe that other person does. Or
Right.
maybe someone else sees us and then starts rumors about us. It's like, let's just be above reproach. Let's not even put ourselves in that position. And so I was just challenging a couple that's working on rebuilding that trust to say, hey, would you be willing to do the Billy Graham rule? And Billy Graham it's kind of named for him because that was a huge part of his work, that he did not do that just to give his wife that feeling of security and trust by saying, you can count on me that I'm not going to put myself in that position.
Yeah, and his ministry over all those years, in order for people to
Yes.
buy into the ministry and believe in what he was doing, he didn't want that to have a
No.
blemish on it.
No.
So we've done control, respect, love, trust. This next one is, we see this a lot with kids. Okay, we see it with adults as well, for sure. But you see this with kids, and when you talk about kids going astray these days, much of it can come to this next one. And the next one is security.
Yeah.
All of us
feeling
have
safe.
to have a level of feeling safe. If every day, so, as we're in the news these days, there's people talking about nuclear Armageddon and nuclear war and all these things, and just the conversation of war in itself starts to cause a break in security within our mindset. And so when we have this right away, my emotional emptiness creates anxiety within me. And so I'm not in a comfortable place.
Yeah.
So we have to understand, I have to meet security needs. Now, we've joked before about your need for security is different than mine. I'll make no mistake again. It doesn't mean I don't have security needs, but you've tied it more to, listen, I need to make sure that the house is going to be paid for, that the
Right.
cars
Money.
are running, that the kids have a place to sleep, all these things. And my nature might be like, oh yeah, it's all taken care of, it's all good. And knowing when I minimize Linda's need for security, it is a slap in her emotional face and makes her uncomfortable. And so part of what I've had to realize is, well, okay, so wait, I'm part of this deal. How can I help you meet that security need?
Yeah. It's
Okay?
not like I don't want you to spend money on the thing that you enjoy or want to do or the job opportunity. It's literally that insecurity in me. And I want to speak to this with COVID. With our kids, you
yeah.
know, when we had that break in routine and when all of a sudden everything was disrupted for them and everything was upheavaled for them, it brought us such a huge lack of security for our kids. And so we saw this huge rise in anxiety and depression and feeling of overwhelm and hopeless and stress, because this is a huge essential need for our kids to feel safe. Divorce is another thing. When you've got two homes and you've got four different, sometimes adults, speaking into a child's life, there's not a real level of safety and security for our kids feeling.
Yeah. And what we see with kids is they will struggle initially through the divorce. They'll be freaking out. Eventually, they kind of, some of them go into panic and anxiety, and they have to get help to do that. Many of them will go hardened down. They'll say, well, this is the way it is. I just have to take care of myself. And they become hardened. And then they start trying to play the system. Like, well, I'm going to get whatever I need. And we've
Yep.
talked about that many times before, how they start manipulating the divorce situation to get what
Yep.
they want.
Yeah. So that's security.
The next one is affection. Okay. And so I want you to think about what affection is related to here. Affection is how we are interacting in relationship. And so affection could be, it could be holding hands. It could be sexual intimacy. It could be just time together, right? It could be just humor and laughing and how we interact. The idea here is I have to be able to interact and have somebody respond in an interaction back to me. So you've all seen before, like, we teach our young men to have a strong, firm handshake. And if you have a strong, firm handshake, it's basically that other person, that other man is basically affirming. He's giving you like, hey, I'm right with you. And when he just gives you this cold, limp fish of a hand, you're like, yeah, right, there's nothing here.
Yeah.
Well, take that to a different level. Let's just say that I walk in the house and I say, hey, everybody, how you doing? And nobody responds to me. I have felt like there's no affection here. There's nobody putting back into me. So affection is not just holding hands, but it's the whole idea of how are we doing interacting with each other? And if I keep pouring into you to interact, if you keep trying to hold my hand and I keep pulling my hand away, that eventually is going to cause a lot of tension.
Yeah, and they all kind of go together, right? You feel disrespected, I feel unloved, it breaks down trust, makes me wonder what's going on, I don't feel very safe and secure. So these are all intertwined. Even though you want to put them in little boxes, they are all intertwined.
They leak into each other.
Yeah, they do. And so affection is a huge thing. Our kids, spouses will kind of withhold affection to kind of prove a point or to kind of get back at their partner as revenge. And man, it just breaks down that need. And if you do that for very long, they're going to go find it somewhere else.
Yeah.
Not saying it's right, but that's how big of a need it is that and we have couples that come in, they haven't been physically intimate with each other in years, sometimes decades. And it's like, they're getting that somewhere, whether it be an affair, whether it be pornography, they're going to get that need met because it is a need.
Well, and that goes to all of these because they're needs. If they're not being met in a healthy way, people, if they're going to get any level of health in their life, they're going to seek them elsewhere.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I might be disrespected in the house, but hey, that means I'm going to double down at a place where I do get respect. So maybe I'm a workhorse out in the field where at least all the guys will respect me. You see what I'm saying? Like I'm going to get this. Otherwise I'll starve. I'll die on the vine.
Yeah.
Okay.
And this next one goes with that, hun, and that is purpose. If we do not, when you believe that there's a creator who intimately knows you and created you, then you can understand better that you were created for a purpose. And that's really a struggle as we kind of have sucked faith and sucked the Lord out of our homes and our schools and our workplaces. There is this real void of purpose and identity. Like people don't even know, why am I even here? Why should I even care? And so that is something we've seen. And really, honestly, God has put us in this place to glorify him with the gifts and the talents and the experiences in our world that he wants us to use for his glory.
Yeah, one of the quickest ways to depression is to take somebody's purpose away or make them believe they don't have a purpose.
Yeah.
And so we have to really understand everyone has to have a reason to get up out of bed. And we also have to be really careful at how we are allowing people to say we have purpose. And so I've been very critical of the schools over many years, of which I am a product of in terms of environment of work, that, hey, if you're not good at reading, writing, arithmetic, you're not going to be good at much. And that whole message starts to permeate from a first grader on. And now we get guys who are graduating and they're like, well, I'm not good for anything. And that just can't happen. We have to know, as you said, hun, it's a God-given purpose. It's not a school-given, parent-given, church-given. It's a God-given purpose. Now I need to say, like, okay, how does God help me fill that void?
Yeah, and that's funny that you bring that up about the schools, because it is so important that we don't prioritize one career path or purpose than the other. I mean, we need the electricians and the plumbers. We need the mechanics and we need the garbage collectors. I mean, these are all important roles that we play. And again, that's not, that's maybe our career. It's not our purpose, but we've kind of elevated some people to be more important on this earth than others. And that's just a flat out lie of the enemy, that God has created all of us for a purpose and has amazing plans for all of us, regardless of what we do or what our life looks like.
Absolutely. All right. So the last one is also a major underpinning for all of these. And it is everyone has to have faith. Everybody has faith. And so many of us have wrapped our faith into our religion, or our Christianity. But make no mistake about this, everyone has to have a faith, okay? The problem that we run into is when your faith is grounded in something that is not very faithful, okay? Meaning yourself. Okay, like, if I got it in me, I can do it, and those all sound like good pep talks, but we know that we will fall short.
Yes.
All right, and when we do fall short, does that mean we are a disaster, we're a waste, we're good for nothing? And so we fail and we fail and we fail, and so I need to have faith in something greater than myself. This is what we always talk about in Alcoholics Anonymous and in Celebrate Recovery. I have to have faith that there is something out there greater than me to anchor to.
Yes.
And this goes not just, so for us Christians, it doesn't just go to God or religion. It goes to the idea that God gives us eternity, as we talked about in the last show, the eternal prospect that this goes well beyond. And so I have to believe that this is good for ever, not for a while.
Yeah, and that's why we connected these two shows. And so if you didn't have a chance to listen to last week's show, we really encourage you to go back because they are so intertwined and that one builds off the other. But as Rock Solid Families and Rock Solid Radio believes, if we don't build on a rock solid foundation, which the Bible says is Jesus Christ himself, he's the cornerstone, he is the foundation that we build on, then everything else is going to be sinking sand. And so like that's where that God-shaped hole came in from last week, is that foundation is critical on the success and the health of our lives, our relationships, our families, and our world today.
All right. So let's take a couple minutes to talk about a few more obvious ways that we do not really understand how God plays into this. Okay.
Like, what do you mean?
So, let's talk about control. All right.
Are we going back to control again?
Well, I don't know why we keep tapping back into control.
Why are you focusing on that one?
Well, I use this because, and this is well outside of just moms, but we'll watch, you've all probably seen this. Maybe you've even done this, where you wanted like control and respect. So let's say you're going out on a date, right? Not you and I, but like before you knew.
We can't go on a date?
Well, I don't have the money to do what I'm getting ready to say.
Oh, okay.
Okay. But the idea, we've all known and seen somebody where they're trying to impress someone and they go out on this date and they go into this nice restaurant and they go to the table that the host is walking them to, and they go, oh. And they go, And they open their wallet up and pull out a big Ben Franklin on there, and they go, "Hey,
is that $1?
That would be 100, hon. I know it's unusual in our home. We don't see those. It got 2 zeros on it. Okay,
it's like I don't think that would really get you a whole lot with $1. What's on the dollar?
Oh my gosh!
Seriously.
This is what we're talking about. You are disrespecting George. Okay.
Okay. Sorry.
All right.
I'm sorry. I digressed.
We're going to cut that out. That was embarrassing that you don't know that. All right. But anyway, all of a sudden, we will try to exert our power and control by the shortcut of money. So I'm still wanting to fulfill my emotional need of having control, okay? But now I'm going to use not God. I'm going to use something that I created or brought in my mind, and that would be money. And I'll say, hey, here's 100. Can you get me the table over by the window? Because that would be a nicer view for the lady I'm trying to respect or trying to get to respect me.
You've never done that before.
No, I've never done that because I don't have any of the Ben Franklins, but I've seen people do that before. And so, guys, here's what I'm talking about. These emotional needs, if we don't understand how they're attached to God and we need to understand how God wants us to have them fulfilled, how God can help us, we will try to shortcut them. So listen to what I said. We will try to shortcut them. I will do everything I can in my power to get these things under my abilities to get them where I need them to be. All right. I will drive affection the way I want it driven. Okay. I will buy security systems and insurance policies, whatever I can to get security. I will buy love. Okay. I will demand respect. I'll do all these things. And you have to know, like, I'm shortcutting God out of this picture versus sitting back and saying, God, what does this mean?
Yeah.
How can I know that you will provide for my needs?
That's a perfect segue into next week's show, where we're going to really talk with someone who really tried to shortcut them. He knew he had needs and really didn't understand how he was shortcutting them until much later on. So it's a great story. Somebody that we've worked with, and God has done some amazing things in their life. But it really speaks to this whole idea of, how do we find God even in the middle of some tough storms, and satisfying it and shortcutting it like some people tend to do.
We all do.
Yes,
right?
we all do.
We've all been guilty of it.
Yes.
None of us have this packaged and wrapped nicely. It's an ongoing daily bread sort of occurrence.
Yeah, so your homework and the challenge is, if you didn't listen to last week's show, go back and listen to the God-shaped hole. And then if not, if you've already listened, then next week tune in to this third part of this that we truly talk about and share with a story of one way that we try to shortcut.
All right. So we want to thank all of our sponsors, Maxwell Construction and Casey's Outdoor Solutions. We want to thank all of our listeners. Please continue to share the shows. Give us those 5-star ratings, and, reach out to us. You've got a question, you've got a comment, please. You can get us at rocksolidfamilies.org. Or if you have an actual need that you're feeling like is not being met, whether it's as an individual or a marriage or parenting situation, we don't have all the answers, but we know who does. And so come on in, and maybe we can help you with some of those. So you can call us at 812-576-7625.
Yeah.
So we have a need to close this show down.
Yeah, and honestly, if you do listen and you really have never let us know. It is kind of fun to hear. We actually have clients who will come back and they will quote us. And they'll remind us of something we said, and so it's kind of a fun way, just saying.
I didn't say that. Yeah, you did. I got it on tape.
We're not talking out into the air. So reach out to us. You can get us through rocksolidfamilies.org. And again, thank you so much for listening to Rock Solid Radio, building a stronger community, one family at a time. Make it a great day. Rock Solid Radio wants to thank Maxwell Construction, who has been our sponsor since the very beginning. For over 30 years, Maxwell has delivered the highest quality projects by holding to their core values of customer satisfaction, positive attitude, respect, and excellence. So if you have any kind of commercial construction need, give Maxwell Construction a call today at 812-537-2200.